Writing your promotion recommendation. I get asked about this one a lot. And I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised that so many people leave the initial business case discussion in the hands of their manager. Let me explain why I feel that way. I equate it to playing soccer in the US or football in Europe. There are rules to a game, right? And the promotion game is the same as a soccer or football game, where it's different in different environments. Things you get yellow or red carded for in the US are different than getting yellow and red carded in Europe, even though the game is basically the same. But some of the rules are slightly different. So when I think about managing your career and managing a promotion recommendation, I'm amazed at how many people leave it 100% to their manager. And this is what I mean. Every company, it doesn't matter which one you work for, has a promotion process, and they have expectations per level. These are posted someplace on the corporate HR website. When you even go look at your own level, it usually says whether you're an individual contributor at X level, what the next Y level is. Same thing for a manager level, the next level. It talks about the scope, the size of the team, the types of the breadth of expectations across multiple teams if you're a manager in particular, or the level of the project impact that for an individual contributor. Like, all that information's posted. I have not yet seen it where it's not. Now, to be transparent, every team you work on might interpret it slightly differently, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the rules of the game are posted. And it amazes me at times how when I coach and mentor people, and they're sent to me usually by their managers half the time, is they don't know what those are. And this is where the investment of time of understanding the rules of the game are extremely important if you want to advance your career level-wise. And so this conversation will mostly focus on that. What does it take to work yourself towards a promotion recommendation in your organization? So again, if you think about understanding the rules of the game, you probably wouldn't put yourself on the field without at least doing some basic research of what's going to yellow and red card you in the US versus Europe. Likewise, I fail to understand why people don't understand like what the actual tactical rules are of promotion in organization, meaning what are the cycles? What do they look at? What are the recommendations that have to go from other people based on your level? As you get more senior, you have to have more recommendations from other individuals that you're operating at that level. But those rules are all posted. So I don't understand why more people don't basically write their own recommendations, at least if not for nothing else more than a gap analysis discussion tool with your manager. And this is why I think it's so important. Nobody knows your work as well as you. And in this whole space, perception's 9/10 reality. And your manager, if they do a good job as an arbitrator, which is another session I talk about, they may not know all the ins and outs of the work and value that you do. So it's incumbent upon you to inform your manager, in my opinion. And so how do you do that? For me, it's very easy. Like, every organization, you might have to speak to some managers and find out, like, what does the actual physical write-up have to look like, and what should be in it. I mean, obviously, if you fill it out for yourself, and you have the backing, meaning the support and the delivery behind that, then you should be able to have a discussion with your manager. Does this meet the bar for a recommendation for the next level or not? That's a good conversation. It doesn't mean you will get promoted. It doesn't mean that everybody above your manager will agree with it, but it's a starting point. And that starting point is, does even your manager feel that you've met the skills, experience, and delivery that's required for the next level? Now, in every organization, and I can't speak to yours, it usually takes multiple things to get promoted, meaning headcount in the role, meaning that the role has the ability to need somebody at the next level. There's a budget involved in every organization. They can't promote everybody. Even if they're all eligible, they might have to space out. And the third one is, do you meet the skills, experience, and expectations of the next level over time? And I think that's the one aspect that I always ask everybody to think about, is they don't promote someone until they've been displaying that skill set. So that means, yes, you've probably been operating at the top end of your level or above it, which means that you're getting a higher review, and you're kind of bouncing deliveries into the next level. And then that's kind of what says that when you get promoted, you won't be promoted past your level. But the tactical piece of actually understanding what is the documentation that's required for the next level. Are there any examples of good ones for people that might have been promoted in the past that you can leverage? What's the level of detail in the impact that was seen as the right way to format it in the document? And if you were to be very self-critical, and this is very important here, to go fill that out, can you, with a, I don't say with a straight face, but could you feel in your gut that you actually meet these requirements, and that your partners, when you say you've had this impact with this partner, would they support you? So the first step, which I always suggest people, is do you even understand what it takes to get promoted to the next level? And then do you have an example of what it takes, documentation wise, to go? Because most of these, particularly as you get more senior, it's almost like a board. I mean, other people, it's about partnerships, having impact across organizations. So the examples that you have should have the requisite recommendations from those individuals and those teams that you've had that impact. But once you build that out, it's a very powerful conversation with your manager to see if there are any gaps. It helps you identify very specifically in the recommendation where there might not be the longevity of impact, meaning you haven't delivered enough to show that it's not just a fluke that you delivered. Are you meeting the impact at the right level versus lower level impact, and you're expected to provide impact at this level? Are you showing that based on what you wrote in the recommendation or the paperwork or whatever they want to, you have to present for that? And this is going to sound a little cynical, but I've always kind of approached it that if you assume that you have the worst manager in the world that doesn't know how to do this, or you're very junior and you have a brand new manager, why not help them out, right? Help them with the actual write-up and documentation, and then negotiate, are you meeting the bar? And I think that and I'm not saying that my manager's bad. So if he happens to watch this, that's not, I'm an awesome manager, probably the best I've ever had, actually. But the point being is that why trust it and put that in somebody else's hands when you know your work and impact better than anybody else, and probably know the right detail to put in it. Now, again, you have to verify that detail later, but I can tell you that I've done this with individuals and it's worked, like literally in that promotion cycle. Because again, your manager might be managing even dozens or hundreds of people at times. And so why not help them out? And you can help them out by formulating the business case for them. Now, again, they have to agree. You have to, show them that you actually have the detail behind this, and that the partners will give you the recommendation, and that they'll actually say that you did this work. And there's a little tip for you is when I've helped people do this, I say, take this wording to your partner that you've done this project with, and ask them if this is accurate and representative of the value that you had. It's a very important step, because the last thing you want is for them to come back and ask them, say, well, no, that person didn't help me with that. So I always say, validate the data that you're putting in there with your partners. Should they be asked, did you actually provide that impact? It's a very important step. But then it also says that if they don't agree, you can have a conversation with that person, explain to them what you did provide. And in some cases, maybe even they didn't see it in the same light. And sometimes they'll say, well, I would have need to see this to give you that strong of a recommendation, but maybe I can, but you did do this. And while that bar might have been a little bit lower, it gives you the valuable insights on the currency that you have or don't have towards your promotion. And most importantly, it gives you a vehicle to have a very discrete conversation about where the gaps may be. I think a lot of times when I've talked to frustrated individuals about their career not progressing, and now we're talking about promotion, a lot of it's from a lack of understanding what the gaps are in the expected delivery. So I said, why not take a shot at it, right? What do you have to lose? If nothing else, you can have a good conversation with your manager on whether or not you see eye to eye on the value of your impacts based on the media that's required for meeting the next level. I've always found it to be a highly constructive conversation at the end of the day, because if you ever ask a manager, well, when will I get promoted? No manager can really tell you that. Like, they can only recommend you for promotion. And then it goes to the board, and do other people agree? So the first hurdle is your manager agreeing that you've met the bar for them recommending you for a promotion. And that, I always say, focus on the discrete deliverable that has to be submitted, and then obviously filling it out with the credible data that goes with that. But I have never found an organization where you couldn't find at least the basic corporate data of what's expected at the next level. And then with enough conversations, and yes, sometimes you have to dig for it a little bit with different managers, to find a good example, or find a manager who's really good at it, you've seen people on their team get promoted. So here's another pro tip. If you see a manager that is shown a history of getting people promoted, even especially to the level that you're looking to get promoted to, go talk to that manager. Go write your recommendation. Go have coffee with them, or have a Zoom coffee to say, look, can you look at my recommendation with a critical eye and tell me, would this pass muster? Like, I've seen you've had people promoted, so they know how to write them. They know the right detail. So find those people out. It's extremely powerful in helping you manage yourself to your next career level by understanding the rules of the game, finding someone who can credibly review, obviously getting the format and the impact levels correct, follow through with the people that might get asked, did you actually give this impact? And I would actually even share the wording of that section to them to see if they would, have any issues with that. And then it's just a matter of, do you meet the bar when you talk to your manager for the recommendation for promotion? And I found it to be a very good tactical exercise that, as an employee, you can manage yourself. And obviously, if you have a great manager who helps you along the way and you have those conversations, that's awesome. But I always say, why leave it directly in the hands of your manager when you can have a really active participation in the process? So again, people have asked me like how I think about it, and I would love to hear more comments from individuals about how they also manage their career discussions and promotion discussions with your managers in the comments. Thank you.